Book Dragons. I'm back to do part 2 of my September reading wrap-up. As I said in my previous reading wrap-up for September, this was a weird reading month. I read a combination of things. I just was in very slumpy. I was struggling a little bit with work and focus issues. So let's get into the stats because I find it interesting. I read 12 adult books. I have never read that many adult books in a month, and I think it was just because they were easy to get through. Focusing, I also read 5 middle grade and 2 YA, which I think is my lowest YA month I've ever read. 4 I would classify as mystery/thrillers. 4 I would say are mythology based. I read 7 fall themed reads or have like fall elements to it. I started 3 series, which I'm trying to get better at. I read 3 sequels, and I ended 2 series, which is actually pretty good because I always struggle with ending series. So that is pretty good. And overall, I read about 19 things, which I think is definitely good. I mean, again, I know people that read nothing a month, so it definitely am better. I just know the first 2 weeks of the month up until about the 15th, I did really struggle, and I was just struggling with focus a lot of the time. So let's get into it. The first thing that I picked up for this reading vlog for this wrap up was Aru Shah and the End of Time, the graphic novel by Rani Chashki. I am going to attach a photo here and then we'll chat about it. I have been on the wait list for this book for about 12 weeks, so when it finally came in, I was like, I'm gonna read it. I just finished this series earlier this year and I really love the whole series. I do think book 1 is probably the weakest out of the whole series, but again, it is a lot of world building. I like the art style. I thought it was super fun. I think that if you have some reluctant readers, and as a teacher, I have many, I think this would be a nice way to start them with the series and then push them to read the other ones. But it was fun. It was an enjoyable read. I read it in an evening, and again, the wait was really long. So when I saw that it popped off on my Hoopla, I just took it so I could read it. So it was fun. I gave it 3 stars. Probably my least favorite of the series, but a unique reading experience for sure. And if you are trying to get some kids into Rick Riordan Presents series, the Aru Shah series is being turned into graphic novels, and so is the Tristan Strong series as well. So if you are a parent and you want some mythology themed reads for your kids, check those out. And then the next book that I picked up was another Rick Riordan present, and that is Sir Boaton's Guide to Vampire Hunting by Roseanne A. Brown. She wrote A Song of Wrath and Ruin. This is her middle grade debut, and guys, this book was like adorable. It was really fun. So you follow Sarah, obviously, and she and her family are vampire hunters. So something winds up happening and she has to go visit, like stay with her aunt and her cousin in this small town. And her family sends her there to think she'll be safe because someone is chasing her family and they're trying to save something. But if they keep her, they think she's going to get hurt and she's going to get injured. But Sarah very much wants to be a vampire hunter, and she's afraid of missing out on the action, and she wants to help her family, and she's very hesitant to go to a normal school and go with her aunt. But little does she know, the vampires may find her after all, and it is a wild ride. This book is a very wild read. About 50% in, I was loving it. The last 50 pages blew my mind. So I would say the pacing at the end was a little bit off, but it was a great fall read. Like, this is the perfect early fall read for you. It gave me Buffy vibes. If you're a Buffy fan and you know who the Scooby Gang is, Sarah made her own Scooby Gang, and I found it was great. The ending was a little bit shocking. I'm really hoping for a sequel. I always say that, but this one was definitely fun, and I gave this one 4.5 stars for review, and I'm definitely looking into reading more by this author in the future. I'm going to check out her YA books as well, but so far, Sarah definitely might be maybe my 3rd favorite book of the month overall. Yes, and then the next book that I picked up was a audiobook, and that is Don't Hex and Drive by Juliet Cross. This is the 2nd book in the Stay a Spell series, which I think I liked more than Wolf Gone Wild, and I think that's mostly to do to the two main characters. But this is a paranormal romance series centering around witches. And here is a cover. And this book followed Isadora, and Isadora is basically an empath, and she winds up having a potential romance with a vampire, and it was fun. I think I just liked Isadora a little bit more, and I liked the romance a little bit more than the characters in book one. This one was fun. There was also like a murder mystery sort of embedded in it, and I felt like that mystery was a lot stronger than the mystery in Wolf Gone Wild, so I just enjoyed it. I like seeing the world. I like seeing the characters. I thought it was fun. I gave it 4 stars. I actually just started book 3 in this series, so every book follows a different sister so far, and I'm really enjoying it. And then the next book that I picked up was because I have been watching a lot of romance booktube in the past 3 to 4 months. I blame Peace Love Books, but like I've been following a lot of other people, Novel Life, Sam Reads a Little, Rachel Reads and Sings, all of these romance booktubers, and I don't read a lot of romance, but when they all talk about a book, I tend to pick it up. So I picked up Home Game by Odette Stone. Here is a photo. Just admire his abs all. This is definitely outside my comfort zone, but everyone's synopsis was like, ooh, I need that in my life, so I picked it up. You basically follow these two characters. You follow Ryan and Zoe, and Ryan is a hockey player. He recently got changed to a new team, and he's definitely feeling the effects of that. And then you follow Zoe, and their paths cross one day at a coffee shop when Ryan is frantically trying to input all his receipts into a program, and Zoe's sort of sitting off to the side saying, yo, bud, you're doing that wrong. He asks for her help. She says, I'll help you, but I have a hard end time. I have to be out of here at a certain time. That sort of falls down by the wayside, and little does he know why it's so important is she's homeless and she has to get to a homeless shelter. He feels pretty guilty, so he winds up letting her stay with him that night, and before she leaves, he gives him his card and says, if you ever need anything, call me. A couple of weeks later, she's jumped outside of her place of employment. They call him, and she winds up, asking her to stay with him until she's healthy and safe, and it just goes from there. It was a really sweet, slow burn romance, and I just liked it. I don't really read a lot of hockey romances. This one was really interesting. I like Zoe as a character. I liked Ryan as well, and I think the third act breakup was probably my favorite third act breakup I've ever read, at least like in like contemporary romances. I just thought it was like the reason made sense to me, so very, very well done. I think it's probably going to be like a 4.5 star read for me, but there was a little bit of like a mustache turny villain at some points, and there was also a little bit of woman on woman hate that I was not here for, but other than that, I enjoyed it, and I would definitely read more by Odette Stone in the future. So the next book that I picked up is another like fall read, early fall read, and that is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This is probably my highest rated book of this section. This is probably like a 5-star read as well, but I love this book. I love everything by Ashley Poston, and this is just a cozy read. If you are looking for something that sort of gives you House on the Cerulean Sea vibes, I would pick this book up. So you basically follow this character named Florence, and she is a ghostwriter. She's a ghostwriter for a very, very famous author, and one day she gets a new editor, and he is trying to convince her to to finish writing, like to complete the book she's writing. It's a romance. She feels really uninspired due to a breakup she had years ago, and she's on deadline, and she just can't make it work. So she winds up having to go home for a certain reason, and her family owns a funeral parlor, and little does she know her new editor has died and is suddenly haunting her. And it is just delightful because he's haunting her in the small town where she grew up. She also has a lot of grief elements because her father does die in the story. I don't feel like that's a spoiler because it happens within like the first 20 pages. But it was a very heartwarming read, a lot about self-discovery, a lot about just like family dynamics and family relationships, but I liked it. And I thought the ending was not as surprising for me, but if you're not like a mystery reader, I think the ending might surprise you. So I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I loved everything but that Ashley Poston has written, and I'm super excited to see what she comes out with next. But yeah, this was a good one. And the next book that I finished was another early fall read, and that is The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. This is the sequel to The Ex-Hex, and I'm pleased to report I liked it even better than The Ex-Hex. I read The Ex-Hex last year, and I liked it. I don't think I loved it. This book I think was a little bit better. Basically, The Ex-Hex followed these 2 characters. A girl got drunk, she wound up cursing her ex-boyfriend, and when her ex-boyfriend came back to town, there was a curse. This was like a little bit different. Like, this followed the follows the characters from the first book, like their cousin and then the other one's brother. And this book was just different. There was like a real mystery sort of being fueled through the story, and I liked the romance a lot. It was definitely like hate to more, but also like second chance in a sense, which I liked. I just really enjoyed it. The mystery was also very, very well developed, which was different than book 1, because you sort of knew the mystery in book 1. This one you didn't, and I like that a lot. And yeah, it's just set in a small town. I like the characters a lot. It was a quick read. I read it in like 2 days, and I gave it 4 stars. So if you're looking for an early fall read that has some witchy vibes, I would definitely recommend you pick this one up. 4 stars for me. So the next book I'm going to chat about is Mine Till Midnight by Lisa Kleypas. I'm going to put a photo up here, and then we'll chat about it. This was a 3-star read for me. I struggled to read this book pretty much all month. I've tried to read it like 5 different times. I got the audio. I wasn't loving it. I picked up the physical book. It was okay. I finished it on audio. I have heard really good things about the Hathaway series, which this one is from. This one follows Amelia as she's trying to get her family in order. And it's like a big family. It gave me Bridgerton vibes. But the representation in this felt a little bit dated. The main love interest was a gypsy and a rom, and it just felt a little bit dated to me, and I felt like the terms weren't really appropriate, I guess. So it was okay. I liked it. I think I'll probably like the last 3 books in the series a little bit more, but this one was very like a foundational book. I think when I read The Duke and I had similar feelings. That was probably my least favorite book in the series. I'm excited for book 2. It also has another gypsy like character, so I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that, but I'm definitely gonna check it out. But this is probably a 3-star read for me. It was okay. It just didn't wow me. And then I picked up a new cozy mystery series. Megan the Books recommended it, and it's a Lady Hardcastle mystery. I'm going to attach a photo, but it's called A Quiet Place in the Country. So here is a photo. And this was just a fun read. It felt like I was reading a historical romance with no romance and just like a historical mystery. It definitely gave me like Veronica Speedwell vibes, and I liked it. You basically follow these 2 characters. They wind up moving to the country. They were former adventurers, and they have to solve a murder on this estate. And it was just fun. I gave it 3 stars. I already downloaded book 2. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I'll probably read it. Thanks, Megs and the Books, for the rec. And it was fun. It was a cute read. I read it at work. It's a great grading, like when I'm grading papers, just to listen to it. Feels like I was listening to like a murder mystery show, and it was fun. And the last book I'm going to chat about in this video is New Dragon City by Mara Makuzi. I was on a blog tour for this in early October, so let's get into it. At this point, I think I've read mostly everything Mara Makuzi writes. I think her first series, her Camelot Code series, was definitely my favorite. I gave those like 4.5 stars. Then I read her Dragonop series, which I liked. I didn't love. This one was okay. I enjoyed it, but it's like a post-apocalyptic story where dragons have ruled the world, and it was really fun. I think the world was interesting. It had a lot of tiebacks to like our world, like stuff that we're dealing with, like fake news and pandemics and immigration. So there was a lot of like tie-ins that I think would be really interesting to have conversations with your kids about. And I liked it. It was a fun read. It was also set in New York City. It was a really, really quick read. The thing with that, it was just that I didn't really feel connected to the characters. And you basically have, there's two main characters in the story, a young boy named Noah who's sort of dealing with that, and then you follow a young dragon and their paths together. And it was a fun read. I gave it 3 stars. So yeah, that is my September reading wrap up part 2. I really hope my October reading wrap up, reading life, does much better. I have a bunch of fun stuff planned in October, but also hopefully a lot of reading. Let me know in the comments what is your favorite book that you read in the month of September. For me, it was either The Final Gambit or The Dead Romantics, and I'll talk to you guys soon for my next video. Bye friends, stay safe and be well.